What's good, futurists? It's Sho, and today we're talking about Eye of the Temple on the Oculus Quest 2. Shout out to Future Friends Games for an early code. The game originally released on Steam in October 2021. It comes out on April 27th on the Quest 2. Let's check out the press kit. Explore a vast and treacherous temple in the daring room-scale VR adventure, Eye of the Temple. Keep your balance and your wits about you as you step between moving blocks, dodging hazardous traps, and solving environmental puzzles with only your torch and whip in hand. All right, the developer about 2 weeks ago posted a YouTube video showing the systems and how he got it to work on the Quest, and I was blown away because it is a really creative use of manipulating the Oculus Quest space to make you feel like you're in a room much bigger than you're in. The game works by forcing you to step on a series of moving platforms. So far, at least within the first hour of the game, I've only seen two types of platforms. Platforms that are pretty stable but move forward, backward, left, and right. And then there's these rolling platforms you see below you that you kind of balance yourself on by moving your feet in the opposite direction of the way the platform rolls. So if it rolls forward, you kind of have to simulate walking backwards to stay stable without falling. It's really trippy because when you're on it, it feels like you're moving. That's what the game does a good job of. It tricks your mind into thinking that it's doing things that it's not really doing. And when you fall off one of these rollers or pretty much any obstacle in the game, it just puts you back at the beginning of where you encountered the fail state. So if you fall, you just get right back on the plank and do the obstacle again. The whole world is a giant puzzle, and as you can see, the game is gorgeous. It looks beautiful. The water effects look great. The environment is really big and bright and expansive, and because you don't spend a lot of time figuring out how to move or adjusting to movement, you can sit back and enjoy how the game looks. Throughout the game, you've got two tools at your disposal. In your left hand, you keep a torch that's mostly unlit, and in your right hand, you have your whip, Indiana Jones style. You don't have a backpack or inventory system because you don't collect anything other than gems. Every once in a while, you'll find something like one of these scarab beetles that you gotta beat the heck out of just to smack them down. That's what you fight, at least in that first hour. You might fight something more later on, but I doubt it. It doesn't feel like that kind of game. This game is all about the exploration and the puzzles. You activate areas with the whip by pulling on handles or levers or smashing vases to release these pink gems, which are some sort of currency in the game. So like right here, here is where you would light the area with the torch, which would open up something new. Don't be fooled. Eye of the Temple is very much a key game or a Metroidvania type, except you don't have any powers. You're constantly going back to areas that you previously visited to unlock a secret thing or see some type of hidden puzzle area that you might have missed the first time. You activate a thing by pulling a lever, that's why I call it a key game, and then voila, a door opens or a new pathway opens up. It's a common old school technique that's used really effectively here. And thankfully, because that's pretty much all you do in the game. Dodging obstacles, stepping on moving platforms, hitting switches to either rise to a higher platform, descend to a lower platform, or move to some previously inaccessible area that you couldn't see before, or you just lose your balance because of the game's VR mind tricks. I've given a lot of props to the way the game looks and what the game does, but I haven't spent much time talking about design choices. For example, in that fail state, when you die, you're sent to a black void area where there's nothing to focus on, but the one lit area where you see your own player feet. That's the only place you can go to reposition yourself and get back into the game. The game is full of smart design choices like that. The game is very careful about using every inch of your play space. You never move beyond the borders of the Oculus area, but you always feel like you just might hit a wall or move somewhere you're not supposed to. It requires a lot of trust in the Oculus sensory system, but if you're feeling brave, turn off the grid protection area and you'll feel uninhibited freedom. Me, I wasn't that brave, and you'll find throughout this gameplay lots of times where the grid pops up. I never hit a wall or bumped my controller into anything, but it shows you how close you are to the wall environments if you don't have enough room space. And Eye of the Temple puts you in those situations way too frequently. So you're probably already thinking, who is this game for? I'm gonna tell you right up front, I don't like puzzle games. I'm not a big fan of puzzle games. Maybe I'm a big dummy. I like action or I like simulations, but puzzle games, most of the time I just don't have the patience for it. and Eye of the Temple is a puzzle game. But because you're physically active within the space, because there's ducking and dodging and moving about, and the game uses all of these techniques to make the space feel so much bigger than the small room you're probably confined to, I enjoyed playing it. It was a lot of fun. So if you're new to VR and you want to see what VR is all about, this is one of those games like Walkabout Mini Golf or bowling or one of the other fitness apps or Beat Saber. That's a great showcase to prove that you can only do these experiences inside of a headset. Now here's an asterisk. This game is also really great for people who get motion sick in VR. So if you're one of those people that has a friend who gets sick 5 seconds after you turn on the headset, this might be the game you want to get them to try. One of the major problems in VR is that when you give somebody a controller or any kind of interface that does locomotion for them or gives an approximation of moving within a space, it immediately plays tricks on the mind. It makes people sick. So when you show games that are a one-to-one match with what you can do in the real world, people tend to connect with that better. Their stomach doesn't go all topsy-turvy. And that's what's really cool about Eye of the Temple. All right, let's pause. I like the game a lot, but I don't love everything about it. The main thing is that doggone whip. I hate that whip. So you use the whip to swat away scarabs. You encounter them every once in a while. They're annoying. It's whatever. It changes up the pace of the gameplay. It adds variety. I get it. But the scarabs and using the whip to attach to levers and to activate puzzles doesn't work for me. The physics are not great. They're loose. It doesn't feel like you're using a whip, and I can never get it to do the same thing twice. I can flick that thing all day long. I will flick it at a canister or a vase. It doesn't always work the same way. And Eye of the Temple is one of the few games where I wish you had a gun. Give me a 6-shooter revolver, right? When I'm not on a moving platform and I have a rest period, let me reload the bullets. Let me shoot at canisters. Let me shoot at those levers and let them activate that way. I don't want to use my whip to collect gems. Let them magnetize to me as I go through. Little things that you wouldn't think would change the pace of the game, but I promise you, developers, if you're listening, if you change that whip to a gun or give me some kind of DLC where I can just use a gun, it feels like a whole different game. Okay, that's exaggerating. It doesn't feel like a whole new game, but it would greatly enhance the experience because the whip just adds an unnecessary layer of physics that the game doesn't need. Eye of the Temple is all about exploration. A little bit of combat, but mostly exploration. And that's a joy. I never get tired of going up and down those platforms. It feels like I'm discovering something new every time I play it. Oh, yeah, and props to the little bird thing. There's a little blue macaw that you'll see in every level that shows you where you should go because it's overwhelming when you enter a space. It's easy to get lost in the space because there's so much to do, so many platforms moving about, and so much to see. But you keep your eye on that blue macaw and it'll give you the general direction on where you should go. Great design. Props. So do I love the game? Yes. Should it be part of every Quest catalog? Yes and yes. If you don't like puzzle games, will you like the game? I do not like puzzle games, and I like this game a lot. Eye of the Temple is in a very small club of room scale VR games on the Quest, and an even smaller club of room scale games done with such polish. All right, futurists, this isn't a review. This is a first impression, but hopefully this helped you in some way. In the meantime, check the game out on the Quest store, and I will see you guys in the future. Show out.